Welcome to the Fortress. You're listening to Time to Talk Australia. Be sure to look us up on all good podcast apps. Well, things are buzzing in Kylie world with news that the best album of 2020, of course that's Disco, is about to be refreshed, rebranded and re-released. It will be called Disco Guest List. And can you just imagine the next tour? Your ticket will probably let you know that you are officially on the guest list, which is pretty clever, especially considering Kylie fans, well, they're usually deliberately left off the guest list. So yay for us. The news of this 5-disc set has had a mixed response on Kylie groups. Some are celebrating that we finally have the evidence of this very long rumoured release, while others are bemoaning the lack of new content. Does that sound like Kylie world to you? Some are celebrating, some are bemoaning. It seems like there will be just 3 new tracks, all collaborations. And out of 5 discs, 3 new tracks? Some fans are simply asking, what's the point? We also have a Fever reissue to talk about, and I'm joined by Laura from New Zealand. G'day, Laura.
Hello. Nice to join everybody.
Nice to have you. I think you might be the first person from New Zealand that we've ever had on one of our podcasts.
Oh wow, well that's pretty exciting. I mean, we've got a lot of Kylie fans over here. We don't tend to get a lot of Kylie stuff over this side of the world. We have to sort of import a lot. But you did come and do one concert here for the X album, so that was pretty cool.
So Laura, should Kylie fans be excited about Disco Guest List, or should we be doing what Kylie fans do best and having a bit of a complaint about it?
So, it's kind of, I'm a bit torn, to be honest. I mean, any Kylie release I get excited about. With the Fever, I was sort of like, oh, can we get a couple of extras, like maybe some B-sides or some demos with the 20th anniversary. But with this Disco guest list, I mean, there's been a lot of promo around it for quite some time. You know, Kylie sort of talked about, you know, there's been the rumours and what have you. And then to kind of see what has come out, I'm like, oh, when I saw it, somebody had advertised the other day on one of the Kylie pages on Facebook, hey, look, this French website's got these new advertisements of this disco guest list, and I was like, is this official? But to kind of see like 3 vinyls and these multi-discs, and I was sort of thinking, oh, there must be a whole pile of stuff. This is great, some new material, some rework, and I'm kind of like, okay, there's like 3 new songs and a couple of sort of duets, and then the rest is remixes, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of excited, but I'm also sort of like, why is there so many versions and what have you? Because we had so many different kind of versions as such with the original disco, you know, the different coloured vinyl, etc. So, yeah, I'm a bit torn, to be honest.
Yeah, I couldn't have summed it up better myself. It's exactly how I feel. I'm excited. I love disco. I think it's potentially my second favourite album after Rhythm of Love. So I absolutely love it, and it didn't get the, I wouldn't say recognition. I believe something went disastrously wrong in the promotion for it. I'd love to know the backstory. There has to be one, because people were saying it was COVID related and all this. I don't believe that for a second, because COVID didn't stop Say Something, didn't stop the recording of the album, it didn't stop Magic, it didn't stop Infinite Disco. So they had something good going, but then all of a sudden it stopped dead in its tracks. So I'm really excited like you for this, but perplexing. 5 discs. I love the artwork, by the way. I happen to love the artwork. But disc number 1, let's just go through it a little bit, is the original disco album, which I assume won't be the deluxe version. I assume it will be the standard edition, purely because disc 2 starts bewilderingly with Till You Love Somebody, a great track, but you're kicking off the next disc with that. Fine Wine, Hey Lonely, and Spotlight are the first 4 tracks, which were sort of like, you know, the extra tracks, weren't they, from the deluxe version? And these remixes that you mentioned, guess what, Laura? Most of them we've already heard.
I know, and that's where I'm kind of a little bit like, Sometimes I think the marketing team just get it wrong. Like, I have to agree with you with disco. It sort of had that momentum, and then all of a sudden it just sort of stopped. And I was like, here's an opportunity. She's got some good music. And there was just no promo over here in New Zealand. And I was like, you go back to the 80s and early 90s, she was everywhere. She was all over TV, the magazines, everywhere. I just think we've kind of fallen a little bit short, where we had a bit of an opportunity here to do something different.
And any track on the album, hand on heart, any track could have been a single. Miss a Thing, perfect single material. I mean, if she wanted to mix it up like Kylie often likes to do, Supernova. Anyway, look, you could mention every track off that album could have been released. So let's zone in, though, on the more positive aspect here, the 3 new tracks, which, by the way, there was a rumour going around that she was doing a duet with Agnetha from ABBA, which turned out to be a very naughty rumour. Well done, whoever started that. But I don't even know if this is official yet, but it's pretty much close to being confirmed, I'd say. And now they've got another track on this album, Ollie Murs and Kylie, with A Second to Midnight. Jessie Ware is duetting with Kylie on this, Kiss of Life, which, by the way, I love Jessie Ware. Someone on the podcast got me into Jessie Ware. I'd never heard of her. I went and looked up her album, absolutely Kylie 94 all over, and a lot of Sade. And interestingly, I don't know if it's the one, I really don't, but Sade, or Sade, whatever she's known as, she has a song called Kiss of Life. And I know Jessie Ware is a huge Sade fan, so I wonder if it's that. And then, of course, this. Surely, Laura, you're excited about Kylie and Gloria Gaynor, the singer of I Will Survive.
Yeah, total disco queen. Yes. I mean, that makes sense, Gloria Gaynor and Kylie. Like, disco, it's a disco album, so absolutely makes sense.
Probably, hopefully, with an amazing video clip with Gloria Gaynor beforehand. What about that?
Oh, yes. That would be cool. Yes, absolutely. I'd be on board with that.
How do you reckon their voices will mix, Laura? That's the only thing that I keep thinking about. Gloria Gaynor and Kylie's voice, so different. I love Kylie's voice, but Gloria's voice, very deep and rich, I suppose, and gospel. Kylie's voice, although she's done, she's sung alongside gospels before, hasn't she, with Wow at the Proms? So she can certainly match it. I'm really fascinated to see how their 2 voices mix, though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how they kind of work it within that song. I mean, it just depends, how that song is written as well, as to, whether there's only a little bit that maybe Gloria's singing, or whether they're both kind of sharing equal parts. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, totally. Totally exciting. I haven't heard the song before, the rumoured song that they're singing together, which is called Can't Stop Writing Songs About You. I haven't been able to find any record of that, so that might be new. But then besides those 3, we come back to besides Dance Floor Darling having an electric slide remix, which I don't think we've heard. All the other remixes I'm pretty sure of Say Something and Magic, the Dua Lipa, the Initial Talk remix, for example, of Real Groove. That's a very 80s-esque remix of that song. It's really, really good, but we have heard it before. I'll just recap for those who don't know that the other 3 discs, because that's 2, disc 3 is going to be the Infinite Disco CD. So the music, a bit like what she's done with Intimate and Live and many other concert tours. And then disco 4 will be the DVD of Infinite Disco, and disc 5 will be the Blu-ray. So 5 special discs. I've got to ask you, Laura, do you even own a DVD player or Blu-ray player anymore?
Yes. Yes, I still do. DVD, I still do, because a lot of the movies and stuff I watch, you can't stream. You can't sort of get them anywhere, or it's going to cost you dearer than what it is to have a cheap DVD. So yes, I do. I'm old school. I still have a cassette player and stuff in my car. So
oh
yeah.
Wow! I heard New Zealand recently introduced the MP3. Sorry, a bit of New Zealand sledging there. It had to happen during this podcast. Had to happen. And Laura, feel free to get your own back on that. So at the end of the day, one last quick topic there, Laura. Fever is, how many years old is Fever these days?
What are we? It's been 20 years, which is crazy because
Can you believe it?
remember, I remember hearing Can't Get You Out of My Head at, was it the Light Years tour? I forget what she called
On
the
a
Light
night
Years
like
tour.
this, yeah.
It was yes, that's it, On a Night Like This. My first ever Kylie concert. My uncle's friend got us tickets to the Sydney show, and guess where we were seated? Front row centre. I was ecstatic.
Well done.
Amazing. I know. We took all these photos and stuff. It was amazing. But I remember her performing that song, Can't Get You Out of My Head there. And she said, I've got this new song. And I was like, I love it. And look at where it is today. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So yeah, it's exciting to see that it's been 20 years. Makes me kind of feel old. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more with that, the marketing, and maybe like after the 20-year sort of maybe some B-sides or some demos to go alongside the Fever original-ish reissue. I don't know how everyone else feels about that.
Couldn't agree more, because the Fever sessions, there were some brilliant B-sides that could have easily fit on the album. Rendezvous at Sunset, Boy,
yes.
And there were others as well around that time. I loved all the B-sides and some remixes. But look, there was a cassette released apparently overnight that's been snapped up, a 20th anniversary cassette. It's all sold out. And there's vinyl versions floating around. I've never been good at keeping up with all of that, but yeah, it's been re-released. And I've got to say, I was checking out the iTunes chart today in Australia, and Fever is boom right up there. I think it's in the top 10 from what I saw, and it's probably going to make a resurgence all around the world, and that's good. I hope it's perfect timing for the disco re-release. I hope people fall in love with Kylie all over again.
Yes, good. I mean, Fever was an amazing album, but yeah, I think for this one, I think it was great to have the reissue, but I think we've missed the mark a little bit here with that marketing team again, around doing a reissue with some extras, because I kind of jumped on the bandwagon and got the white vinyl straight away, and then I see she's released that silver vinyl, but there's no difference. It's just there's a print that comes extra with the vinyl, so there's nothing extra from what the original version is, and same with the cassette. So totally. Like you said before, around them doing multiple versions, I mean, I'm a diehard fan, have been since like 1988, and yeah, I've probably got too much Kylie stuff, but I know for disco, the other day I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, how many versions of this disco, just because they were different colours.
Totally. At least give us a little something for our hard-earned cash, because I know I get held down for it, but exploitation. I mean, I don't mind artists trying to make something a success. It's also, by the way, it's not just a cynical money grab. It's a very clever way to get albums to number one as well, because Kylie, Madonna, any big artist that has hardcore fans, they find it really hard to get a successful album these days. But it's easier for them to get a number one because they do that whole promo before week one. And then if they release multiple versions, that all adds up to lots and lots of sales. And it's important to get to number one, because then it's sort of an official confirmation that they're still relevant, all of that sort of stuff. But you watch Kylie, Madonna, Janet Jackson, they all fall from the top of the charts down the charts in the most dramatic of ways, because of that strategy that you've just identified, which is the multiple formats. But look, at the end of the day, Laura, we could talk all day about it, but this is still exciting times. Let's face it, I can hear the excitement in your voice, even though we're both a little bit bewildered by this disco thing. Exciting times, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's hey, look, it's new Kylie release, so anything Kylie is makes me happy.
And I would be interested to know what our listeners think. Will you be buying disco guest list? Do you wish there was more on it? Do you think it's okay that it's just a reissue and a reminder for the more general public that disco did exist once and it was a fantastic album? Maybe that's just what all this is about. Maybe I'm too cynical, I don't know. Good on you, Laura. Thanks so much.
Thank you.